Lauren Smithfields was a 23-year-old woman from Bridgeport, Connecticut. She was known by her family and friends as a peaceful, hardworking, and loving person. Her life was centered around education, health, and building a future for herself. Lauren was focused, responsible, and had clear goals for her life. She was a student at Norwalk Community College, where she was studying to become a physical therapist. She wanted a career that would help people recover from injuries and live better lives. She cared deeply about health and fitness and stayed active both in school and in her personal life. Lauren was also independent. She had her own apartment and supported herself. She managed her own bills, made her own decisions, and showed confidence in her ability to live on her own. She was proud of her freedom and worked hard to maintain it. Outside of school, Lauren enjoyed fashion, social media, and spending time with close friends. She had a strong presence on Instagram and TikTok, where she shared parts of her life. She liked dressing nicely, taking care of herself, and expressing her style. She used these platforms to have fun and stay connected. Lauren met people through dating apps like many others her age. She used Bumble, a dating app where women start the conversation. That is where she connected with Matthew LaFontaine, a 37-year-old white man. After 3 days of chatting, she invited him over for their first in-person meeting at her home. Her family said Lauren was careful, not someone who partied heavily or used dangerous drugs. She focused on her studies, health, and long-term goals. Her life showed signs of planning and direction. She was not someone who lived recklessly or made unsafe choices without reason. Lauren Smithfields was more than a headline. She was a young black woman with dreams and a future. Her family described her as someone with great potential and a kind spirit. She was working toward a better life and had every reason to believe she would get there. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below. Where are you tuning in from? What are your thoughts as this story unfolds? Your voice matters. These are real people, real tragedies, and real lessons we can't ignore. Share this video with someone you care about. It can make all the difference. Welcome to Unseen Crime Dossiers, your home for spine-chilling cases, haunting before mysteries, and deep dives into the world of crime. From jaw-dropping real-life events to groundbreaking forensic discoveries, we're here to uncover the truth behind the most gripping investigations. Step inside, examine the evidence, and lose yourself in the shadows of true crime. On the evening of December 11th, 2021, Lauren Smithfield spent time in her Bridgeport apartment preparing to meet Matthew LaFontaine in person for the first time. The two had only spoken for 3 days after meeting on Bumble. He was 37 years old and worked in the local area. Lauren welcomed him into her home for what was meant to be a quiet night. According to statements, they spent the evening drinking tequila, watching movies, and talking. Reports later mentioned that Lauren had also received a delivery from someone she knew, which included a small amount of alcohol and a dose of a painkiller called prescription Percocet. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex showed Matthew arriving that night, but there is no known footage of him leaving. In his account to police, Matthew claimed that Lauren became ill at one point, went to the bathroom, and fell asleep on the couch. He stated that he woke up briefly at 3 a.m. to use the bathroom and saw her still snoring. He said when he woke up again around 6:30 a.m., he noticed blood around her nose and could not wake her up. That is when he called 911. When emergency responders arrived at the apartment, they found Lauren unresponsive. She was later declared dead at the scene. Matthew told officers that he had only known her a short time and referred to her as someone he barely knew. Despite being the last person to see her alive, he was not taken into custody or treated as a suspect. The police did not collect key items in the apartment as evidence. Her family later discovered that the bloody sheets, used cups, and a used condom were left behind or discarded. Officers allowed Matthew to leave the apartment without taking him to the station for further questioning. Lauren's family was not informed by police about her death. They found out nearly 2 days later after calling around to hospitals and the coroner's office. This delay left them confused and angry, especially as they began hearing conflicting stories about what had happened. The scene that night became the center of public outrage, not just because of how Lauren died, but because of how the case was handled from the very start. Critical procedures were not followed. Evidence was left untouched, and a young woman's life was over in a matter of hours after opening her door to someone she had just met. Lauren Smithfield's family began to worry when they didn't hear from her. Her mother, Chantel Fields, tried calling and texting, but there was no answer. The silence didn't feel normal. After searching for answers, the family finally contacted the Bridgeport Police Department. That's when they learned that Lauren had died 2 days earlier inside her apartment. The news came as a shock. No officer had contacted them directly to share what happened. The family had to piece together the truth by themselves. They went to the apartment and found the scene undisturbed. Items like the blood-stained bed sheets, her clothes, and other personal belongings were still there, untouched. It was clear the investigation had not been handled with care. Lauren's brother entered the apartment and immediately noticed things were out of place. He saw a used condom, a pill, and an open bottle of alcohol left behind. These were important items that should have been collected as evidence. The family believed the police treated Lauren's death with little attention and failed to do a proper investigation from the start. After seeing the condition of the apartment, the family became more alarmed. They reached out to the detective in charge, but said they were met with disrespect and silence. They felt dismissed, as if their daughter's death wasn't being taken seriously. Lauren's mother later said it seemed like her daughter had been forgotten or ignored. The family paid for a second independent autopsy to find more answers. They also began to speak out publicly. They organized protests, contacted the media, and demanded action. Their goal was to raise awareness and make sure Lauren's case was not overlooked or closed too soon. Their efforts brought attention from national news and social justice groups. More people started to listen and question how the case had been handled. Supporters joined the family at rallies, marches, and online campaigns calling for transparency and fairness. By pushing forward, Lauren's family turned their pain into purpose. They wanted truth, answers, and accountability. Their actions helped bring more attention to the way cases involving young black women are sometimes treated. They refused to stay quiet as they continued their fight to understand what really happened to their daughter. Weeks after Lauren Smithfield's death, the Connecticut Office of the Chief Medical Examiner released the official autopsy report. According to the findings, Lauren died from acute intoxication due to the combined effect of fentanyl, promethazine, hydroxyzine, and alcohol. Her death was classified as an accidental overdose. The presence of fentanyl in her system raised serious concern for the family. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid often linked to deadly outcomes. Lauren had never been known to use such substances, which led her family to believe that something had been introduced into her system without her knowledge. Along with fentanyl, the report listed promethazine and hydroxyzine, both sedating antihistamines, alongside alcohol. The combination of these substances can slow the body systems, especially breathing and heart function. Taken together, these drugs created a dangerous mix that ultimately ended Lauren's life. The medical report did not explain how these drugs entered her system. There was no clear evidence about whether she took them willingly or if someone else gave them to her. The report focused only on the cause of death, not how or why the substances were consumed. Lauren's family rejected the idea that she had taken these drugs intentionally. They maintained that Lauren was cautious and not involved in recreational drug use. To them, the results did not match the person they knew. They believed there was more to the story and that the autopsy only told part of what happened. The ruling of accidental created more frustration for her loved ones. They felt the case was being closed too quickly, without proper answers. The medical report, while official, gave them no closure. Instead, it deepened their belief that more investigation was needed. Despite the autopsy findings, the family continued to push for further action. They believed someone had to be held responsible. The toxic substances found in Lauren's system raised more alarm than peace. For them, the results were not just a medical statement. They were a signal that something had gone very wrong. As details of Lauren Smithfield's case became public, many people began paying close attention to how the Bridgeport Police Department managed the investigation. The way officers responded on the night of her death, and the days that followed raised concern across the country. Community members, activists, and strangers online noticed several gaps in the early handling of the case. There was strong criticism about the decision not to treat the last person seen with Lauren as a potential suspect or person of interest. Many people felt the police showed a lack of urgency. The fact that no one was detained and no immediate tests were done on key items in the apartment fueled public distrust. News spread through social media and local platforms, where users began to demand answers. People compared the handling of Lauren's case to others and raised issues about fairness and consistency. The silence from law enforcement only added to the anger. Families who had dealt with similar situations spoke out, adding their voices to the growing call for justice. Bridgeport city officials began to receive pressure from advocacy groups and local residents. There were public gatherings, organized protests, and marches through the city demanding accountability. Protesters carried signs with Lauren's name and image, calling for change and attention to her case. Eventually, the city announced that the detective originally assigned to Lauren's case was placed on leave. Another detective, involved in a different case, was also disciplined. This action came after weeks of public criticism and direct complaints made by the family and their legal representatives. The city promised to review the department's practices around death investigations. Officials said they would make changes to how families are informed and how scenes are handled. However, the delay in these actions left many people feeling that they only occurred because of outside pressure. Even as changes were introduced, trust had already been broken. The public viewed the situation as an example of how some cases are handled with less care and attention. Lauren's name continued to be used in conversations about reform, fairness, and equal treatment in all investigations. After months of frustration, Lauren Smithfield's family decided to take legal action. They filed a notice of claim against the city of Bridgeport, a step required before filing a lawsuit. The notice accused the police department of failing to properly investigate Lauren's death and of violating the family's rights by not informing them promptly. The family's attorney stated that key evidence had not been collected or tested, and that communication from police was deeply lacking. The notice outlined what the family saw as negligence from the beginning. It also claimed that the handling of the case had caused emotional distress and added pain to an already tragic situation. At the same time, the family worked with community leaders and legal advisors to keep the case in the public eye. They gave interviews, held press conferences, and pushed for an independent investigation. Their goal was not just justice for Lauren, but also accountability for how her case had been treated. Legal experts began to weigh in on the matter. Some pointed out gaps in the police report and raised concerns about possible violations of protocol. Others highlighted how rare it was for families to seek action so quickly and forcefully, showing how serious the family was about finding answers. The pressure created by the legal notice led to more public responses from city officials. They promised to cooperate and review their internal practices. Meanwhile, civil rights organizations expressed support and offered to assist the family with resources and legal aid if needed. The family launched an online petition and organized awareness campaigns under Lauren's name. They called for law changes that would require families to be notified more quickly after a death and for more transparency in death investigations. These efforts gained support from people across the country. Through legal channels and community work, Lauren's family continued their mission. They used every tool available to fight for change. Their focus remained clear: to make sure no one else would face what they had gone through, and to make sure Lauren's story would not be forgotten. As the story of Lauren Smithfield spread, national news outlets began to pick it up. Major media organizations covered the events surrounding her death, shining a brighter light on what had happened in Bridgeport. The coverage brought Lauren's name into households far beyond her hometown. Television programs, online platforms, and newspapers highlighted the timeline of events and the family's efforts to find justice. Interviews with her relatives aired on national networks, giving her loved ones a chance to speak directly to the public. Their voices carried the weight of personal loss and determination. Social media played a powerful role in keeping attention on Lauren's case. Hashtags with her name trended for days, and viral posts from celebrities, activists, and everyday users helped maintain public interest. People began sharing graphics, videos, and written messages urging others not to look away. Documentaries and podcasts added further reach. Several crime-focused series created special episodes dedicated to Lauren's case, walking to known facts, the timeline, and the unanswered issues. These deep dives helped more people understand the importance of the case and the broader conversations it had sparked. News anchors and opinion writers began addressing the differences in how certain cases are treated in the media. They compared the amount of attention Lauren's case received early on with others that had dominated headlines much faster. This led to more open discussion about media fairness and equal treatment. The increased attention brought new experts into the conversation. Forensic specialists, legal analysts, and former investigators appeared on TV to explain possible missteps. Their commentary gave viewers insight into how investigations are supposed to unfold and what may have gone wrong in this case. The nationwide attention created a platform that the family used carefully. They participated in town halls, media panels, and advocacy events. With each appearance, they made it clear that their mission extended beyond their own tragedy. They wanted to make sure that Lauren's name stood for justice, truth, and lasting change. As Lauren Smithfield's story continued to unfold, her local community stood by her family. Residents from Bridgeport and nearby cities gathered for candlelight vigils, wearing shirts and holding signs with Lauren's face and name. These gatherings became peaceful but powerful moments of unity and remembrance. Local leaders joined hands with organizers to host town hall meetings focused on transparency, safety, and the treatment of victims' families. The events allowed people to share their thoughts and experiences, and they became part of a wider effort to seek long-term change within their city. Community members created murals and banners in Lauren's honor, making sure her memory stayed visible. Schools, churches, and nonprofits hosted awareness programs to talk about safety, responsibility, and the importance of clear communication between families and law enforcement during sensitive times. Students and young adults played a strong role in organizing awareness events. College groups held forums, walks, and rallies to speak out about fairness and accountability. These actions helped keep momentum alive even when media attention began to slow down. Donations and fundraising efforts helped the family cover legal costs and organize public events. Supporters also sent letters and messages to the mayor's office, asking for clearer protocols in future cases. The steady involvement showed how deeply the case touched people on both personal and civic levels. Artists, poets, and musicians contributed by creating works inspired by Lauren's life and legacy. These pieces were shared online and in local galleries, offering emotional support and spreading awareness through creative channels. The art gave people another way to connect with the story. Community support didn't fade with time. Instead, it evolved into structured advocacy. Local groups formed partnerships with national organizations to push for legislative changes and new policies. The public's commitment helped the family continue their fight for justice, knowing they weren't alone in their mission. Even after widespread media coverage and public pressure, several pieces of the puzzle remained unclear. While medical examiner ruled Lauren Smithfield's death an accidental overdose, many were left unsatisfied with the outcome. The ruling closed one door, but it didn't erase the doubts surrounding the night she died. The man who had been with Lauren that night, Matthew LaFontaine, was not charged with any crime. Police stated he had been cooperative during questioning. Still, the decision not to pursue further investigation into his involvement led to strong public reactions and continued interest in the case. Legal documents were reviewed, but no criminal charges followed. Authorities pointed to the toxicology results and the absence of signs of foul play. This left many people focusing more on how the case had been handled, rather than what the final cause of death was. Over time, the spotlight moved to the process itself, how families are informed, how evidence is collected, and how investigations are launched. Lauren's death became a reference point in broader discussions about procedures, accountability, and equal attention in similar cases. The Smithfields family made it clear they would not stop their efforts. They focused on legislative changes, policy improvements, and educational outreach. Their work became bigger than a single case, aimed at protecting others and demanding equal justice for every victim. Her story continued to appear in documentaries, news features, and awareness events. Advocacy groups used Lauren's case as an example when pushing for new protections and changes in investigative procedures. Her name remained tied to efforts seeking fairness and consistency in the justice system. As time moved forward, Lauren's legacy lived on through the actions of those she left behind. Her memory shaped conversations, informed public decisions, and stood as a reminder that every life deserves full attention, careful handling, and honest answers. Here at Unseen Crime Dossiers, we're driven by a mission to uncover hidden realities, honor forgotten voices, and keep their memories alive. If the story made you pause, reflect, or feel something, there's more coming that will challenge you even deeper. Make sure to hit subscribe, tap the like button, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a case. We're dropping new episodes regularly. And trust us, what's ahead is even more chilling. Before you go, we want to hear from you what moment hit you the hardest. Drop it in the comments. Your perspective matters, and your voice helps keep these stories alive. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and never stop seeking the truth, because every life deserves to be heard.